Todd Colehep shot Charlie Carver 3 times in the chest, wrapped him in a blue tarp, put him in the bucket of the tractor, locked me down here, and I never seen him again.
Tonight, the dramatic and disturbing new images showing the moment authorities walked up to the sealed shipping container where a woman was being held captive. Authorities using a saw and crowbars to break into the container. What's inside, pitch black. Investigators armed with guns walk through, finding Kayla Brown chained up inside the crate.
How are you, honey?
The 30-year-old held prisoner for 2 months by an admitted serial killer. In the video, you can see Brown with a chain around her neck.
Just one. It's attached to a chain from the wall, and my neck's attached to the wall up here.
Okay.
Wearing glasses, sitting on a makeshift bed.
Something straight out of Hannibal Lecter. Here's this girl chained up like a dog in the back of a container.
Authorities using bolt cutters to free Brown, who had been trapped inside the container on this property belonging to 46-year-old Todd Colehep, a seemingly successful local realtor. She immediately told detectives her boyfriend, Charlie Carver, did not survive.
Todd Colehep shot Charlie Carver 3 times in the chest, wrapped him in a blue tarp, put him in the bucket of the tractor, locked me down here, and I never seen him again. Okay. He says he's dead and buried.
Colehep has now confessed to killing 7 people, including 4 people he gunned down at a motorcycle shop.
I cleared that building in under 30 seconds. You guys would have been proud. I'm sorry, but you guys would have been proud.
In May, Colehep pled guilty to murder and kidnapping charges. A judge sentenced him to life in prison.
Christian humanitarian and evangelist Franklin Graham is speaking out about a new law passed in Ontario, Canada. He says the U.S. should be on guard over the law that pits Christian parents against LGBTQ interests. The Supporting Children, Youth and Families Act, also known as Bill 89, replaces Ontario's previous law dealing with child protection, foster care, and adoption. It redefines the best interest of the child to include sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression. Graham wrote on Facebook, "Can you imagine having the government take your child away from you? If the children decided they felt like switching their gender identity and you disagreed."
Beg for forgiveness.
We last saw 22-year-old Otto Warmbier in February of last year during an emotional and likely coerced confession in North Korea.
I never should have allowed myself to be allured by the United States administration to commit a crime in this country.
The University of Virginia student was sentenced to 15 years hard labor for allegedly stealing a propaganda poster that featured the late Korean leader Kim Jong-il. North Korea called it a hostile act against the state. After his trial, Warmbier allegedly fell ill and has been in a coma ever since.
The Department of State has secured the release of Otto Warmbier from North Korea.
Secretary of State Rex Tillerson credited President Trump with securing the student's release. But it happened bizarrely the same day former NBA star Dennis Rodman landed in North Korea. He has now traveled there 5 times and says he considers North Korean leader Kim Jong-un a friend for life.
Happy birthday to you.
In 2014, Rodman even sang happy birthday to him. En route today, Rodman said he was returning to try to, quote, open a door, and that President Trump would be happy about it.
Oh, is that yummy? It's been removed from baby products, reusable water bottles, and most toys. But the concerning chemical bisphenol A, or BPA, is still in a lot of food packaging.
This is just a sampling of them.
The Center for Environmental Health recently tested more than 250 cans purchased at supermarkets and dollar stores. They found nearly 40% still contain BPA, down from 67% 2 years ago, but
still much too high. We need them to get down to 0.
BPA is used in canned linings, but studies show it can seep into the food. And while the FDA says BPA is safe at the current levels occurring in foods, California recently added BPA to its Prop 65 list as a chemical known to cause reproductive toxicity. Several major food manufacturers have now taken BPA out of their products or are in the process of doing so. Concerned consumers can now look for cans labeled BPA-free.
In the heart of Hollywood, thousands of protesters hit the streets to shine a light on what they believe is an attack on civil rights.
While it's really important for us to stand up every year and celebrate us being gay, it's not about just us right now. There is a larger community of minorities that feel like they're under threat.
Ceci Ambrose is here supporting her gay son.
I've been marching a lot against our current administration because I think they threaten everything that I want for my family.
That sentiment and other politically charged marches around the country are what motivated protest organizer Brian Pendleton to push for a change this year.
Instead of parading, we should march for our human rights.
For years, this was Los Angeles' Pride Parade, filled with fun costumes and floats moving down the streets. But this year, it has taken a very serious turn. The crowd is diverse, with more than 100 different organizations participating, many of them not associated with the LGBT groups.
Not only are we the resistance,
Mayor Eric Garcetti believes Los Angeles should be at the forefront of this new civil rights movement.
Certain people want to pull us apart in Washington, D.C. We're showing we're pulling together.
Locking arms with protesters, Congresswoman Maxine Waters blames the current administration for creating a divide.
It is so important for us to send a message across this country that we will not tolerate this president and his cabinet and his allies in the way that they are disrespecting the people of this country.
Organizers want today's unifying protest to further the resistance movement, pushing leaders in Washington to take action.
A 6-year-old Iraqi girl named Christina has been reunited with her family 3 years after being abducted by ISIL. The militants snatched Christina from her family in August 2014, a few weeks after capturing her hometown of Karakosh. The family's efforts to track her through Arab friends were rewarded on Friday when they got a call telling them that Christina had been found in Mosul. Christina's home was almost completely destroyed during fighting to retake Karakosh.
I'm more scared, I'm more worried, I don't want to come back.
Mika Slagle left Villa Park Elementary School at lunch today after the 5th grade class was displaced once again because of the ongoing rat infestation on the Orange County campus.
One, because they're not in a classroom today, they were just staying outside the whole day because the multi-purpose room had evidence of rat activity this weekend that they caught.
Robert Slagle's 11-year-old daughter is one of the kids who was bitten by mites that live on the rats. This photo of the bites on Mika's back was taken in late April, and it's happened again.
I noticed that Saturday morning.
Mika's dad got a hold of a map of her school that Vector Control put together last week after inspecting Villa Park Elementary. The rat problem is, quote, extensive, according to the county experts. They recommend that several classrooms and buildings remain closed. As trees were trimmed today, telltale rub marks from rats on the side of the multi-purpose room were clear.
We need to close it down until the situation is fixed.
The superintendent says the school district is working on the issue. Getting rid of the rats should happen when school is out, according to a biologist with Vector Control. Otherwise, the mites problem will become even worse.
If you kill the host, the animal they live off, they will be looking for another blood meal source. In this case, it will be people. It can be the kids at the school or the teachers or other staff at the school.
My faith has always been a big part of my identity, and so when I went to write my closing remarks, it was more genuine to be true to myself and to thank God in that when giving my best wishes to my classmates.
That was a Pennsylvania high school senior who is being forbidden from using any kind of Christian religious words in her graduation speech. That was Mariah Bridges, who was told by her Beaver High School principal that her prayer would not be allowed at her public school and that it would be a violation of federal law. And this kind of conflict over student-led prayer is popping up more and more at graduations and school sports events. Should public school students keep their religious identity to themselves? What is your reaction to the school's restrictions, and do you think that it's true, the true interpretation of the law?
Well, first of all, it is not against the law, nor should she keep her religion to herself. However, when you are chosen to give a closing speech or whatever, a graduation speech, it is, in fact, you're my taxpayer, are paying for that public school. And there is a clause in the Constitution that says no establishment of religion. How would you feel, and I know you're both very heavy-duty Christians, how would you feel if a Muslim student got up and thanked Allah? You wouldn't feel very good about it. That's why we have something in our Constitution that says no establishment of religion.
All right, and Dr. Jeffers, I'm going to give you your chance to say your reaction to this.
This is a violation of this girl's most basic freedoms, both the freedom of speech and the free exercise of religion. And as far as the First Amendment Establishment Clause, it says Congress cannot establish a state religion. Our forefathers didn't want a state church in which everybody was coerced to worship in. Certainly, having a prayer to graduation does not constitute the establishment of a state church. And to Ellen's point about, well, what about the feelings of those in the audience who may feel diminished by this prayer? Well, guess what? The framers of the Constitution were not snowflakes. They really didn't care about protecting people's feelings. They cared about protecting people's freedoms, and the two most basic freedoms are the freedom of speech and the free exercise of religion.
Now, I want to give you a look at the prayer that Mariah Bridges was going to give, because this is what she was going to say. She said, make us selfless, make us just, make us successful people, but more than that, make us good people. She also said, Lord, surround us with grace and favor everywhere we go. Soften our hearts to teach us love and compassion, to show mercy and grace to others the way that you showed mercy and grace to us, even to ultimate sacrifice. Help us love our brothers and our sisters deeply. Lead us to bless them. So, Ellen, what is offensive about this prayer?
Well, what is offensive about it is that she's asking God to do this rather than just re-editing it so that she could say it meaning everything. In other words, help us to be kind to other people, etc. All she needed to say is be kind to other people. She did not have to be religious about it, and I am very against taxpayer money being used in public education for any kind of religion.
And Dr. Jeffers, what do you say?
Well, what I say is, look, I've opened up Congress with prayer. Congress opens its every session with prayer. There is nothing wrong with that and everything right with that. And by the way, to Ellen's point, if it were a Muslim student praying in the name of Allah or a Buddhist student praying in the name of the great Buddha, that would be absolutely fine with me. I believe in the free exercise of religion, freedom of speech with no restrictions.
Okay, Ellen, the problem is that, you know, the person would say, you know, there really is no neutral position when it comes to religion. So when you say there's no religious talk in a prayer or a public event, aren't you by default creating secular humanism as the public religion?
You can call it secular humanism all you want. All I'm saying is that she could have rewritten that quote-unquote prayer and made it much more open to everybody, and that's what she should do. This is a public school.
Okay, and Dr. Jeffers, your last word real quick.
Our forefathers gave their life's blood so that she doesn't have to rewrite a prayer. She is free to pray any way she wants. That's what our country is all about.